And you can get 2 pizzas made precisely to your order. Hot from our oven, because we deliver in less than 30 minutes. This special price is available for a limited time only. So call Domino's Pizza now.
New money-saving double deals from Domino's Pizza. 2 regular cheese pizzas, only $7.99, or 2 large cheese pizzas, only $11.99 at all Fresno, Clovis, Visalia, and Porterville locations through May 29th.
Channel 30, KFSN TV, Fresno.
Ladies and gentlemen, kindly give a hometown welcome to the nation's most powerful city's leader. Here is our first citizen, the mayor of New York, Edward I. Koch.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
That's a very impressive welcome for a man in his, you are now in your 11th year?
My 11th year, right. I'm surprised anybody talks to me.
Let's, where do we start with Mayor Koch? Let's throw a dart at the board. You want the Army, the Navy, and the Marines, too, not to mention the Air Force, to be marshaled, to be billeted, and to interdict drugs. You want the full weight of the United States military.
I want them to do what they would do if the Russians were coming. The Russians aren't coming today or tomorrow, maybe sometime down the block, but not now. And the drug pushes are coming and, in fact, are here and are more dangerous to us than are the Russians at this particular moment.
I think you might get a considerable agreement with, from the citizenry regarding that information. But it won't work, Mayor.
Why not?
For the same reason Prohibition didn't work.
No, you're wrong about that. If you're suggesting that we legalize drugs, I'm absolutely against you, and so is almost every person in America.
And that's the problem.
No, it isn't the problem at all, because Britain had legalized drugs, found that it expanded drug use, and several years ago made them illegal. So they tried legalization in Britain. It failed.
Let me ask you this question. Would you support a constitutional amendment prohibiting the sale of alcohol?
No, because that failed too.
And I want to
say
this would work because?
Yes, and I want to tell you, drugs are worse than alcohol, even though more people use alcohol. And the fact that we made one error in our society by allowing alcohol to become acceptable, drugs are not yet acceptable by the vast majority of people in America. Regrettably, alcohol has become acceptable. So it's spitting in the wind to suggest that we go back to prohibition for alcohol. But it is wrong to suggest that we legalize drugs.
But it is in the view of not a few proud Americans who don't want anybody on crack, don't want any officers executed as they sit in their squad cars, don't want any of that, to say that it's spitting in the wind to presume that you can stop every 747, search every campus dormitory room, every international
Let me explain something to you. Once the drugs get here, it's impossible. We arrested 80,000 people last year with drug pushes. We couldn't put them in jail if we wanted to, and the courts regrettably don't even want to. But once we take the position that the drugs should not get here, you cannot grow heroin, you cannot grow cocaine in America. And remember what they did in Malaysia. They said death to the Dada users. Dada is drugs in Malaysian. I'm not suggesting that we go that far, although I am for the death penalty as it relates to major wholesalers and the killers of cops in particular. But we should try to interdict. The reason that the armed forces and Secretary Carlucci and his predecessor Weinberger didn't want to do it and don't want to do it is they're afraid they'll fail. Would they say we can't interdict the Russians if they were coming with bombs that maybe will fail? There is no such thing as saying the Army will fail. Give them the mission. We, the civilians, have already failed.
You would be sending an army of young American males, many of whom, for example, smoke pot for the purpose of shooting the people who bring it to them.
No, you're wrong. You're reducing this to the absurd, and it's too serious. So let me explain to you what we're talking about. We're not talking about sending people into the jungles of Latin America, although if those countries want our helicopters to use to defoliate the marijuana and the cocaine and et cetera, I'm happy that we do that as well. We're saying on the high seas today, that they know basically when ships are carrying drugs. But
They do?
Yes, they absolutely do. But the fact is the Navy doesn't interdict. The Coast Guard does, and they're very limited in number. So what we have to do is to give the mission to the military. Let them figure out how to stop the drugs before they get here. At this particular moment, the statistics issued in '83 were the following. That in 1983, only 6 out of every 100 boats that brought drugs to this country were interdicted by the Coast Guard. Only 1% of the 18,000 small non-commercial flights that came into the country. I am saying, as they're doing in a couple of states, take the National Guard, put them at the borders to search the cars that are coming in. You know, President Nixon had a lot that was going against him. He primarily was going against himself. But the one thing that he had going for him was that when he interdicted the Mexican border, drugs came to a halt. They didn't come in.
I don't understand how this will be effective and prohibition wouldn't. You know, Eliot Ness, for all this wonderful press that he's got, was not successful in prohibiting.
The difference is that there was no public opinion in support of prohibition, whereas there's enormous public opinion in support of interdicting drugs. The fact that you had one failure, and it was a failure, prohibition, doesn't mean that you shouldn't put forth the supreme effort as it relates to drugs, because if we do not, if we don't interdict them, we're going to become a banana republic. They shot a cop. They shot a witness. Next time it'll be a judge or a jury individual. And they're turning us, as I say, into an anarchic society, a place where law means nothing.
For those of you watching us around the country and may not be as familiar with this as New Yorkers are, this is grim. 22-year-old Officer Edward Byrne, as he's sitting in his patrol car in the dead of night guarding a witness in a forthcoming drug trial, was assassinated as he sat alone in his cruiser. His father, a retired New York police officer who could barely breathe, stood on the steps of the church from which this young man was buried and made the point that these scum so murdered his son that he couldn't even have an open coffin. Now, Mayor, here is where I think some would like you to use your considerable power and influence, and it is considerable. You enjoy a significant reservoir of goodwill among the people of New York, with some notable exceptions. But I don't know how you'd be able to...
Give me those names.
Officer Edward Byrne is dead.
Yes.
Because of the laws which were passed in a rage and knee-jerk fashion. Get those SOBs. It's the illegality of the drugs that caused the death of Edward Byrne. Nobody's killing anybody who's running whiskey.
No, look, you're wrong about this.
It's about turf.
I'm simply saying that the way Great Britain conquered the Chinese Republic, or in that time Empire, was by foistering opium upon the population. I would not want to see America to become a society where every other person was a druggie.
I wouldn't either.
Well, that's what will happen.
But almost everybody is right now.
They're not.
It's called alcohol. It's called alcohol.
I want to say to you, I am not here to defend the fact that you can find a lot of alcoholics. I'm not here to defend that. That, regrettably, is water over the dam. You can't go back. When Prohibition failed, it was because the American public at that point had been persuaded that alcoholism is really not bad. That is to say, the drinking of alcohol. Alcoholism itself is. But they haven't yet, thank God, reached the point where they believe that drugs are okay. And so long as you have public opinion standing up, needing leadership, and the president has failed miserably here. I like President Reagan. Lots of Democrats don't. I think he's been terrific in a whole host of areas. He stood up against the Russians, but on the issue of drugs, he's a wimp. Now, I'll tell you what I mean by wimp. Wimp means that you have the authority and the power to do something, but you don't either have the courage or the commitment or the knowledge. He has the courage. You can't fault him on courage. He doesn't have the commitment, or he doesn't have the knowledge. His advisors are giving him bad advice, like Carlucci, saying that it's a local problem. Deal with demand. Like you can turn off a drug addict by saying, just say no. It's ridiculous. You can't turn off a cigarette smoker by saying
That's the point.
by saying just say no.
We have, Mayor.
Only through long education. And the fact is that drug addicts know they're going to die of AIDS or overdose or of other diseases, but they continue because it is a physical addiction. Drugs, I should say cigarette smokers, knowing they're going to die, still use it, and the addiction is not as great as it is for a cokehead or someone who uses heroin.
Here is what the mayor of New York said following a drug conference called by my president. Our president, at which conference you were prohibited from speaking.
Right, even though I was a member of the commission, they said sit down when I got up to ask a question.
Well,
Some commission.
Yeah, well, if they prohibited you from speaking, at least we give them A's. That's a considerable achievement. But here's what you said. Here's what you said afterward, and then the Attorney General follows you, the mayor of New York.
Fact is that the Army and the Navy and the Air Force do not want to accept this mission. We should compel them to accept the mission. We should be cutting off all economic and military aid to every country that is allowing drugs to be grown in that country and allowing them to be shipped to the United States.
I think the mayor's grandstanding to some extent. But I think that it's not, the idea of one level of government bashing another is not the way to go at it.
Well,
Nice man, but on this issue, foolish.
You want to cut off aid to Mexico. Already, Mexico has a tenuous economy. This will make it even more vulnerable. You'll have the INS can't handle immigration.
No. I want to tell you why they don't want to cut off aid to Mexico and didn't want to Panama. The president, up until recently, said he was going to certify Panama as a country to continue to receive aid, even though if Noriega were here, he'd be indicted and taken before a grand jury as part of a criminal enterprise. The fact is that they're afraid that Mexico will go commie if we cut off aid. I want to tell you, I would hate to see them go communist. I don't think they'll go communist, but I want to tell you, I would rather take that chance than to allow the Mexican government, which according to our State Department report, has a lot of corruption in the area of allowing drugs to be grown and to be exported to the United States. Rather than allow them to continue that, I'll take a chance on their going communist, and then the Army certainly will protect us.
Well, if that's a considerable concession from you, because you have been in Congress and as the mayor of New York, flat against the commies. Boy, you don't want to fool around at all.
Right.
And neither does the Reagan administration, and apparently neither does the considerable number.
They're less dangerous than the drug pushers who are here killing us.
Would you be willing, then, to sacrifice or mediate some of this enormously, outrageously expensive military strategies that we've developed because the Russian bear may come over the mountain in order to redirect these limited funds toward a military approach to the drug problem?
Well, they don't need my intervention. If you said to the military, and I've tried to say it to them, but it has to be the president or the Congress by legislation, you have the mission. You've got to interdict the drugs before they get here. We don't want to tell you how to do it. That's why you're being paid, Mr. General. Give them the mission, and then I believe they will not fail. They don't want the mission because of fear that they will fail. Let's put them to the test.
Mayor, it has come to the attention of many of the reporters covering City Hall that here in the 11th year of your reign as mayor of the city of New York, you are getting testy.
I was testy in my first year.
But they do see a difference. Here, to wit, offering in evidence, if it please the court.
Sure.
Here is an interview conducted by the best we got, Gabe Pressman.
Right.
And he's questioning you about the Boggs, Billy Boggs, the street woman. You saw her on the Donahue show. She's a star.
I made her a movie star. She'd be on a great if she hadn't been picked up by Operation Help and given a love and affection, which allows her now to lecture at Harvard Law School.
Now, Gabe Pressman does not show up at City Hall in a limousine, come out, and read somebody else's notes. He covered the hearing. He was there, and he wanted to ask you, obviously, what he felt to be, and with his considerable, an honest question about whether she was endangering herself. And here's the interview he got from the mayor. Roll the tape.
This city is committed to helping those who are in need of medical assistance, and that includes those who are mentally disabled.
No. I sat at the hearings for 3 days, Mr. Mayor. This woman appeared to me and to other reporters there to be as sane as many of the people I meet at City Hall.
Thank you, Dr. Pressman.
No, Mr. Mayor, you have...
Thank you, Dr. Pressman. I am not going to debate whether she's gravely mentally disabled or not. That is a matter...
There's only one legal question, though, Mr. Mayor, and that is whether she's dangerous.
We're not going to argue. You're not a judge yet.
No.
And these matters have been disposed of by a court, and it will now be reviewed by the highest court in the state of New York. So I'm not going to politicize it, and I'm not going to let you turn it into a reporter's decision.
No, I'm not.
It is a decision to be made by doctors.
But I'm not suggesting that, Mr. Mayor.
And then to be ratified by the court.
This woman says that she doesn't want to live in the street anymore. She's willing to take treatment and live in a residence.
Listen.
She's willing to see psychiatrists.
You know what bothers me about you, Gabe, is that you're not a reporter. On occasion, you're a doctor. On another occasion, you're a lawyer. And on other occasions, you're the mayor.
Okay, you got the laugh. Now, here's the question.
Sure.
Should the mayor of the most powerful city in our nation really be engaging this kind of honest inquiry in this way? You appear to be impatient with the details of the consequences of your own
Okay, let me
position.
respond to that. You know, I have a very unusual relationship with the press. I respect them. I think most of them respect me. And so I perceive it as a give-and-take situation. If I think that someone asks me a dumb question, I will say, you know, that's a dumb question. Now, I think that's hard for reporters on occasion to take. With respect to Gabe Pressman, what you don't understand is immediately before that, we had a press conference. And he followed me out of the room and wanted additional information.
He's a working...
I want to say there are very few people in public office who give of themselves as much as I do with respect to answering questions. Right. Now, Gabe Pressman does not state the case accurately. He always evaded and avoided the fact that this woman had been found by 3 doctors at Bellevue, 1 court-appointed psychiatrist, independent of the city, who diagnosed her as paranoid, schizophrenic, or some other mania.
To which her lawyers brought just as many white coats who said she wasn't paranoid.
I'm talking about the independent doctor appointed by the court, the judge, not simply our doctors. Now, what did we want to do for her? We wanted to help her. And in fact, the highest court hearing the substantive part of this case, which is the appellate division, said, in fact, that she belonged in Bellevue for treatment. And it is only because our law is so protective of people that she had a second opportunity, which I am fully supportive of, that even though she has been diagnosed as she has in need of treatment, she can refuse if she wants the treatment if a doctor says that her decision ought to be accepted. And that's what happened here. And so we said, we're not running a hospital. I'm sorry, that we're running a hospital, not a hotel. And therefore, if you don't want to take treatment and your lawyers want you to leave and you want to leave, gesundheit, which means may the force be with you, go.
Now, let me just deal with one other issue here, and then we'll let this considerably enthusiastic audience, in their own wisdom, ask you whatever it may be on their minds. Donald Trump, your close personal friend, who by 1995 may own the entire city of New York. Donald Trump doesn't like you even a little bit, and he said so on this very show. Roll the tape.
Koch has been a disaster for New York. People that live in New York understand it. Taxes have gone through the roof. Everything's gone through. You have, whether it's a Woolman rink or a subway system, whether it's a school that comes in, it takes 8 or 9 years.
Excuse me, but here you're out with your folks in City Hall getting your picture taken. Were the good old days?
Well, I guess he liked me in those days.
No, I just think that, and this is, and I don't think you have to be passionately committed to City Hall or anybody. to conclude that this kind of language from someone of your power and influence is not good style?
Phil, from my standpoint, it doesn't really matter. Again, I'm not running for office. If the point is made better by saying that, let the point be made. He's done a lousy job as the mayor. Anybody from New York probably understands it and knows it. It's gone down now, and it's going down as the most corrupt. Hey, Phil, this is the most corrupt administration in the history of the city.
They have their problem.
Okay.
What's your problem?
I'll tell you what the problem is exactly. Donald Trump's a good builder.
He built that ice skating rink?
No.
He's got the
Donald Trump didn't build the ice skating rink. He hired HRH to build it for him. We're not allowed to hire the best people. We have to hire the people who come in at the lowest bid. And that is why it's very difficult for the city to do as well as the private sector where that restriction doesn't apply. But Donald Trump's ill will towards me occurred when I said that we would not give him tax abatements for the multi-million-dollar condos and condominiums and co-ops that he was going to build on the Upper West Side. And it was at that point that he said I was a moron and engaged in tough language. Now, you have to understand, I'm not here to do anything other than to protect this city. When he says if you ask people in this town whether they like me or whether they think I'm a failure, as he apparently does, I would point out that when I was first elected, I got 51% of the vote in '77. In 1981, I got 75% of the vote. In 1985, I got 78% of the vote. In the most recent polls, in my 11th year, when everybody should be disliking me, I mean, that's the way it is for mayors in their third term, whether it was LaGuardia or Wagner. There were only two others. The polls show that my support is anywhere from 55 to 61%, depending on which poll you use. Now, that's when I'm running against God, because there's nobody else. When you're running against a real person, then you do even better, if you understand what I'm saying. So I'm going to leave to the public. They'll have an opportunity in 1989 to decide whether they want me again.
But isn't as much fun as it used to be? Here's not last year. You are not.
August of last year.
You're not 1 year post-trauma here.
Well, but I had a temporary, I shouldn't say temporary, trivial stroke. The doctor said trivial. It was trivial to them. The fact is that I walked out of the hospital 4 days later. Now, for those of you who are watching who don't know it, I'm Jewish, but the prayer that pulled me through was Mother Teresa. She came to see me after I got out of the hospital, and she said, I said, Mother, what are you doing here? So she said, well, I want to see how you're doing.
Which is what I would have said if she came in.
She said, I want to see how you're doing. You're in my prayers. And I said, Mother, come on up and have something with me, some lemonade or something. So she sits down, and I say, Mother, drink the lemonade, eat the chocolate chip cookies. She says, no, I never eat anything in anybody's house, because in India, for someone who is poor to serve this would cost a fortune. So I never take anything, and I'm always able to say, please don't make anything for me. And then I said, but Mother, the chocolate chip cookies, they are delicious. She said, wrap them up.
We have to break here. I'm going to break, I promise. How has your diet changed, and is your weight where you want it to be?
My diet is terrible.
Well, what is it that you're not eating today?
No, the problem is that I'm drinking the swill. I didn't say swell, I said swill, for breakfast and for lunch. And then occasionally when I'm out with people for lunch and I relax, and then I'll take some bread and butter, and then I go home at night and I think I'll drink the swill, and then I say, why should I torture myself? And then I read the New York Times, and it says no matter what you do, even if you lose weight, in 6 months you will gain it all back. It's like it's hopeless. Only 5% succeed in keeping it off. So I'm going to keep trying, but I must say that in this area, and it's the only area that I can recall, I haven't succeeded.
The only area. And we'll be back with the mayor of New York in a moment.
I wanna be a part of it, New York, New York.
Since you became pregnant, you've done all the right things for your baby. So when it's time for baby's first cereal, start with Beechnut Stage 1 rice cereal. Of all major brands, only Beechnut Stage 1 is a single grain cereal, as pediatricians recommend. Rest assured, Beechnut Stages, the right food at the right stage.
I still can't believe how amazing you are. So sweet dreams, little Katie. And sweet dreams for me, too. Because I'm about to have something so rich, so creamy.
General Foods International Coffee's Cafe Vienna with the spicy sweetness of cinnamon. Unlike anything else, turning quiet time into a quiet celebration.
Celebrate the moments of your life.
With General Foods International Coffees.
In its lifetime, a Hot Point washing machine could wash all the hospital bed sheets of all the babies born this year in the whole of Manhattan. Hot Point, for the long run.
When military equipment is lost or stolen, they have to reckon with this man. Pete Wilson blows the whistle on Pentagon waste and mismanagement, and he's out to stop the needless and wasteful Midget Man missile. But for Pete Wilson, it's not just saving money, it's having the best defense, the kind we get from California's high-technology industry, where his actions have helped to create 600,000 new jobs. Pete Wilson, fighting for California and America.
I couldn't eat or sleep. I just stopped caring. I honestly thought I was losing my mind. But it turned out I had something called depression, a rather common disease that they could treat. So if someone you love has it, call this number. They'll get you help. I beat depression. You can too.
A message from HCA Cedar Vista Hospital.
How am I doing? Thank you.
What a lovely feeling. Waking every morning, looking in the mirror, knowing I'm the mayor. Someone brings me tea, someone reads to me, someone laughs.
That music's from the Broadway show titled Mayor. Here's a man who's got a book and a Broadway show about him. Yes.
Mr. Mayor, could you answer a question? Do you believe that you're a Teflon mayor like President Reagan is a Teflon president? There's a great deal of corruption around you, as with President Reagan. Why doesn't it stick?
I will explain to you. Notwithstanding what you probably think would be 60 or 600 people who have been indicted in this administration, there were actually 7 people who were indicted in this administration, and 5 of them were people who served in the 2 prior administrations. I take political responsibility for their appointments, but I believe most people understand that in government, just as in the private sector, there will be corrupt people. I suspect fewer corrupt people in this government than proportionately in the private sector. But I accept political responsibility, rely on the good judgment of the average citizen.
Are you there, caller? I'm glad you waited. Go ahead.
Yes, hi, Mayor Koch. I'm a recovering addict. I've been recovering for a little over a year now. It seems that our rooms where I go to get recovery, they're growing in leaps and bounds. In Brooklyn alone, we have over 80 meetings. We can't fill the meeting rooms. They're growing one by one. They're coming in and they're coming out. But my question is in the future, okay, what do you see being done, okay, as far as treatment centers?
Okay.
I know, hold on. I know our detox centers are overflowing now. Now, I'm 30 years old and I want to start my life over.
Okay, I want to answer your question.
Yes.
The answer is that there should be treatment on demand, and the state and the federal government should provide the funding for it. The city should not provide the funding for it, and isn't at the moment, because we provide the funding for cops and for other law enforcement, costing us over $1 billion. It is the state obligation and the federal obligation to provide slots, as they refer to them, for the treatment of drug addicts, either through drug-free programs or methadone. We have provided to Julio Martinez 10 buildings. We gave it to him free of charge so that he could create programs there. And the state said that they're going to authorize 3,000 new drug slots that people will be able to get into. At the moment, there is a waiting of a minimum of a month and sometimes longer than that. There should be no waiting. When a drug addict calls up, he or she should be able to get into a program the very next day.
You don't... how much are we spending now on this effort? What in the budget is...
In our city budget, we don't provide for drug treatment because that's a state obligation. And if you're going to take state obligations and pass them on to the city, then we will have to reduce cops or firefighters or teachers or sanitation personnel because there's only one pot of money, and we are already reducing our services as a result of the reduction in our economy and the state legislature having imposed additional pension costs on us, which they shouldn't have done. We're reducing our budget delivered services by $300 million.
Mr. Koch, with regard to your drug policy that you just told us about this afternoon, don't you really think you're engaging in a little bit of buck passing? At this point, what you're saying is the job's either too big for the people in New York, it's too big for you, and you're saying, let's go to the Army, the Navy, whatever. Is it really the first line of defense really here with your police, your judges, that kind of thing?
You're wrong, and I'm going to tell you what I mean by that. Washington, D.C. today is not only the capital of the nation, it's also the drug capital of the nation. You can buy drugs outside of the White House. They have worse control and fewer arrests proportionately than we're doing in the city of New York. What we're saying is the money that's involved is so great. $120 billion a year street value drugs that come into this country that as soon as we arrest somebody and even put them away, there are two people to take their place. Right. So therefore, the best thing to do is to interdict the drugs before they come here. The city of New York doesn't have the power under the Constitution to do that. The president is the commander. Hold it. The president is the commander-in-chief. He's there to protect us from a foreign enemy. Drugs are a foreign enemy source. Cannot be grown in the United States, marijuana or cocaine. So he should put the troops and the Navy offshore to protect us, in my judgment.
But don't you really think that the first line of really defense when you're dealing with the criminal element really is your prosecutors, your police, your judges right here in the state of Connecticut?
The first line of defense is the Army to prevent the drugs from coming into the country.
Mayor, you don't have any more jails to put them in.
That's why I
you
agree.
don't have a national will to provide the taxes it would take to build these jails.
You don't have to put people in jail if you interdict the drugs before they come into this
we'll
country.
Confiscate the product and let the guys on the ship go.
No, the people on the ship are far fewer in number than the drug pushers that distribute it retail when it comes into the country. We can handle those people. It is the drug pushers, the native-born drug pushers in this country, 80,000 last year. We can't possibly build enough jails for that.
And we'll be back in a moment.
First, it was 5-day approval on home loans. Now, Guarantee Savings introduces 59-minute approval on loans for just about any other purchase. In fact, if approval takes more than 59 minutes, we'll pay the loan setup fee. Guaranteed 59-minute loan approval. Proof that when it comes to streamlining service, we're making rapid strides. Guarantee Savings 59-minute loan approval. When you say jump, we say how high.
Some people think to pick a great-tasting natural cheese requires a keen sense of smell or a sophisticated palate or even perfect vision. Truth is, all you need is to look for this. Real California cheese. It's perfectly natural.
Lucky for this diver, he has a thin, powerful seal. So thin, it's virtually airtight. So powerful, it even holds up to pressure. No, it's not on this diver's mask. The seal is on his dentures. Extra Hold Fast Teeth has a seal so thin, yet so powerful, it's virtually airtight. For a hold that's closer to real than any ordinary adhesive, Extra Hold Fast Teeth, the extra hold seal that's closer to real.
The gift collage offers beautiful color, a fragrant accent, and clean skin in one carefully selected medley of products from Gottschalk's. Size to be carried in your purse, travel kit, or cosmetic bag. The selection includes Cleanser Active, Lotion Regulatrice, Cream Luxe Lipstick, Luxe Premier Mascara, and Royal Secret Cologne Concentrate. This outstanding gift of most useful beauty and skincare items can be yours at Gottschalk's with a $12.50 minimum purchase of Germain Monte products.
This is a Channel 30 Action News Brief.
Good afternoon, I'm Liz Harrison. The fight over Section 809 has moved to the courtroom. 809 determines the salaries of some Fresno workers, and city officials want the voters to decide its fate. Fresno's Air Guard unit takes delivery of some new equipment. The choppers represent state-of-the-art technology. And if you like trees, today's your day. It's Arbor Day. We'll have details on these stories and much more tonight on Action News Live at 5.
Yes, I was wondering if anything or anyone ever intimidates Mayor Koch.
Yes. Every Friday I have to go to the fat doctor. And when I go to the fat doctor, who isn't fat himself, and I have to tell him that I haven't lost any weight, I get upset before I go there. You know what I mean? And when I leave here, I'm going to the fat doctor, so I'm already upset.
Yes, ma'am. I want to know if you see a place for a husband, a wife, and 3 children to live in New York.
Oh, sure.
Middle class.
Yes. Yeah. Let me explain to you. I want to tell you. You probably only want to live on the Upper East Side or the Upper West Side of Manhattan.
Don't presume that, Mayor.
You wouldn't... What?
Don't presume that.
No?
No, well, you don't have to be here in Rockefeller
Where are you
Center.
living now?
89th and West End.
You
but
bet.
That's, wait a
now,
second. No,
There's a shortage of apartments in this town. We hope to build over the next 10 years 252,000 apartments. 15% of them will be for families whose income is $25,000 to $48,000, and 85% will be for families whose income is below $25,000. So the middle class really has to go out and fend for itself. Regrettably, we have to take care of those who are even below the middle class, the working poor and the moderate income people. But there are apartments in the 4 other boroughs to a far greater extent at reasonable or more reasonable rentals than in Manhattan. But lots of people think that New York City is only Manhattan. It is not. There are wonderful places in Brooklyn. I lived in Brooklyn for 15 years on Ocean Parkway. And
Yeah? Yeah. Mayor, I've lived here now for 3 years. And
on the Upper East Side.
West Side. Most of the time, West Side. I trust you because I don't think you're greedy.
Good, you're right.
I don't see you as wanting to live in the Trump Tower.
You're right.
And you are fast. You've been accused of government by Quip.
No, it's not true. Let me just tell you, that's my enemies who say that, and I do plead guilty to having a wit. But the fact is that if I didn't have a sense of humor, this job would be unbearable. And the fact is that I make it look easier than in fact it is. I have to deal with 7.5 million people. Every one of them thinks they're smarter than I am, and every one of them thinks they can do a better job than I am, but everyone is smart enough not to run for office. Right. So I'm the one that's doing it, and when you look at how far we have come in the last 11 years, I think we've done a pretty good job.
But you don't publicly decry, for example, evidence of police brutality in your own
Oh, I certainly do. Anytime I appear before a class that's just graduated from the academy,
that's preventive medicine.
I say to that class, I want you to know that if you're falsely attacked, we're going to stand with you side by side. And I believe that every cop is entitled to at least the presumption of innocence when the allegation is made against him or her. And I think there is even a presumption, not a legal one, but in my mind, I hope in yours, that a cop is going to do that which is is professional. He is or she is one of the few people in life authorized to use force to subdue you, but only in a correct way. So I attack those who are established as having either been corrupt or having used police brutality. But I am a friend of the cops. If we didn't have them, we would have a jungle out there.
Yes, but what your indignation and your public visibility is never as great.
You're in error. You're in error. You don't read the right papers. Now, let me say to you that one of the few people who stood up when we had that Howard Beach incident was me, yours truly. In fact, there's a lot of people in Howard Beach thought I went too far when I compared that particular incident, which is not a police incident, but involved racial bias. And I said that was a lynching to be compared with the Old South. People condemned me for saying that. I believed it was true then. I believe it is true now. And when they had the trial and the conviction, the judge pointed out that he got 1,500 letters. All but 2 asked for leniency. He said only 2 letters asked for the maximum sentence. One was from Joe Hines, the special prosecutor, and the other, he said, was from the mayor of the city of New York.
Are you there, caller? Thanks for waiting.
Yes, I'm here.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to ask the mayor, why can't we send back all the illegal aliens back to their countries and keep them out of here?
Oh,
keep them out
stop
of
it.
New York.
Let me just say this. We have a program that is to be helpful to the illegal or undocumented aliens who can establish that they were here for 5 years, beginning with 1982, and they fall under the amnesty law. And I implore them to come forward and get their regularity so they don't have to live in darkness and twilight. The law is running out in a few weeks. And I want to say to the caller, most of our parents, or many of us, came to this country from other countries. So don't turn your back on the tradition. The fact is, the city of New York, 25% of all the people living in the city of New York were born in foreign countries. If we didn't have them, we would not be the truly international great city that we are.
And we'll be back in a moment.
Look what they've done to my oatmeal.
Look what they've done to oatmeal. Why, for goodness sakes, now a crispy place for a whole new taste to feel. Look what they've done to oatmeal.
Oatmeal Raisin Crisp. Big, crispy flakes made with real oatmeal, raisins, and bits of almonds. And that's what we've done to oatmeal.
I can't believe my eyes, a crispy new surprise for a whole new taste to feel. Look what they've done to oatmeal.
We asked ourselves, how could we talk about funerals on television without depressing people? So we decided to talk about life instead of death. Because at the Lyle Funeral Home, we've always felt that our greatest value has been to those still living. That's why we'd like you to know now that if it becomes necessary, please call us. We can help your family in the same way we've helped generations of Valley families for over 72 years. We're the Lyle Funeral Home, here for the living since 1906.
Attention, all Circuit City employees. The moment we've been working for is here. Your training will be tested, your readiness revealed, because here comes our massive marathon sale with hour after hour of savings on home electronics and appliances. Save on this RCA 19-inch color TV, just $199. So get plenty of rest tonight and stay ready for Circuit City's marathon sale.
I never thought that eating light was gonna get me through the night.
It's new Crisco corn oil. You're gonna love eating light.
Baby, you're the one who put the healthy in my healthy appetite. I must have been in the dark if this is eating light.
A new corn oil, light enough to be Crisco. So let the taste of your light cooking come through.
Baby, you're the one who put the healthy in my healthy appetite.
New Crisco corn oil for today's healthy appetites.
The greatest challenge to the future of healthcare, I believe, is that we keep focused on the patient and the patient's needs. As you walk through the hospital, you can see the example of the healing spirit in action. It's all of this that makes St. Agnes special. It's the doctors, it's the volunteers, it's the staff. It's the community. It's all of us together who make St. Agnes.
Sister Ruth Marie Nickerson on the St. Agnes Medical Center commitment.
Your Honor, I have two quick questions. First is, if you want to use the military to fight drug traffic, we already have a problem that the military has such a humongous budget. And if you're putting them into the service of preventing drug trade, isn't that going to push the budget up higher than it already is?
Redirect the budget. First things first.
Can we take, let's close Subic Bay.
Yeah.
Is that a good idea?
No, I'm not for closing Subic Bay.
How are you going to redirect the budget?
Listen,
don't you have responsibility?
We have thousands of naval ships and planes right now in the Caribbean. They are not on duty with respect to the drug traffickers. Put them on duty.
All right. Can I just cover a couple of things which I would be remiss? The welfare hotels are an outrageously inefficient idea.
Yeah.
And we have, would you grant this number, 50,000 homeless in this city?
There are 50,000 who go through our various shelters, but at this particular moment, there are 28,000 altogether.
Yes. And the reason we have families in welfare hotels forever, where children have birthday parties in the hallway and with crack going down all around them, is what?
The reason is that there are no apartments, and the average stay is 13 months, but 80% of the people who are in our hotels, the families, find their own apartments in a relatively short time. 62% get out on their own within 6 months. If we were to provide a city-owned building apartment for every family in the hotel, why should they ever look for their own?
And the reason we don't have more low-rent...
Because it costs so much to build an apartment. Every time we build an apartment for a family on welfare, it costs you $65,000 plus the rent, which they don't pay,
How
which
much
you
is the
pay.
welfare hotel costing?
Oh, the welfare hotel costs $15 a night per person, but which doesn't sound like a lot unless you multiply 4 people in a room, which would be about $65 a night, and...
no planning.
Hold
There's
on.
no planning. There's no...
$65 a night multiplied by 7 nights. It comes out to around $1,600 a month.
There's no planning. Put that money into some decent housing for these people.
The reason that you can't put the money into decent housing is that 50% of the money is federal money, and they say you cannot use it to build permanent housing. It's a screwy law, but that's what the law is. It's a federal law.
What?
Why can't you subsidize the rent? If somebody comes to you and says, all I can afford is a thousand, I can find $1,000 a month apartment, you'll tell that person you won't pay the rent, but you'll keep them in Howard Johnson's in New Jersey.
Is there anybody in this room that believes that for a welfare family that we should pay $1,000 a month rent? Oh, it's ridiculous.
Anyway.
I have just told you that 62% of all the people who come into our temporary shelter leave on their own within 6 months with finding their own apartments. If we paid $1,000 a month for a family that came in, why should they ever go out and leave on their own? It's a ridiculous comment.
I'm glad you called. Go ahead.
Yes, Mayor Koch, this is off your subject right now, but I would like to know why, after this officer was assassinated out here in Jamaica, Queens, that the police department was so easily able to put away so many people, make so many arrests, when every single day there's 2 officers on every block, and the business goes on faithfully.
I will tell you why.
Anything,
I'll tell you why.
And now this cop was killed, you can make all these different arrests.
I will tell you why. The fact is that when you kill a police officer...
Hold it a moment. Let's give the mayor a shot.
When you attack a police officer, kill him, it's greater than any other murder, as harsh as that may seem, because it's an attack upon you, the society.
Right.
It says that we don't care about the police who are protecting society.
No, it
the
doesn't
reason we found his murderers was that citizens put up $130,000 and people who wanted to collect that gave the evidence. The city of New York is only able to put up $10,000. Citizens came in with $120,000 by way of rewards.
Much time, yes.
What about an attack on a young girl like Tawana Brawley?
Well, I want to say that I don't think many people in this city believe it happens the way her lawyers and Reverend Sharpton say it to happen. There's no question that she suffered a terrible tragedy. I doubt that it's going to turn out the way they say, she says it happened. I believe if it were anybody else other than those two lawyers, that there'd be an inquiry about obstruction of justice. How dare they prevent her from testifying before a grand jury and helping law enforcement find out what really happened?
We'll be back in a moment.
The Ford Thunderbird Turbo Coupe and the Chrysler LeBaron Turbo Coupe have a lot in common. Powerful turbocharged engines, of course, and sports car handling, an outrageous sound system, and your choice of luxurious interiors. Of course, the Thunderbird will cost you over $2,000 more than the LeBaron, but don't worry. If you absolutely have to spend the money, there's a LeBaron Turbo for you, too.
Now, get $1,500 cash back on LeBaron Coupe. Before you pay too much for a waterbed, see Waterbed Outlet first. For the first time ever, save up to 70% on waterbeds and accessories. For the first time ever, Waterbed Outlet is having a sale. Our complete $99 waterbed is now just $59. $800 flotation systems are now just $400. Save up to 70% on thousands of sheets, bedspreads, and mattress pads. No money down. Instant credit up to $1,500 and save up to 70%. The first ever Waterbed Outlet sale. Before you pay too much, see Waterbed Outlet first.
Renting a carpet cleaner is always an experience. You get to travel, meet people, and even exercise. But why rent when you can own the new Bissell Power Steamer? It deep cleans carpets, spills, stains, high traffic areas, even upholstery. With the new Bissell Power Steamer, carpet cleaning will never be the same.
Need some help with that?
$179.99 now at Gottschalk's.
I remember when our kids were born. Gosh, we had 5 of them. There were all the things they needed, like baby food and diapers, lots of diapers. There were so many things to buy. And so anyway, one of the things we do at Vons is that we sell national brand baby food, formula, and diapers at cost. And it's our way of saying to growing families, hey, we'd like to have you shop here.
Thanks for waiting. The mayor's on the line. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm the wife of a police captain. How would the drug addict who has been, if the drugs are made legal, how is he going to support his habit? Will he not have to go to crime anyway? And won't our police then be doubly, triply overworked anyway?
Can I just have just a moment? Yeah. Here is the point of the whole effort to at least promote a dialogue about legalization. The problem is that the mayor makes even a discussion of it sound like a communist plot. That if we can decriminalize this whole arena that has infected the American bloodstream, we reduce the profit, you don't have the turf fights, and you save the lives of officers out there. You're giving them an impossible job right now.
They tried it in England, it failed, it simply expanded the number of addicts. I'm absolutely against the legalization of drugs.
All right. See, you know, you...
Mayor Koch, I'd like to know why some mutt in Rikers Island was able to call a hit on a police officer.
Well, the fact is that the federal court orders say that we must provide them with access to telephones. But let me say, I don't want to blame the court for that. Even if there were no telephones, they're entitled to visitors, and he could have given, if that's what happened, the order simply to a person who came to visit him. That's not the reason why it was done, because there was a telephone there.
With very little time left, Mayor, nobody's a stronger supporter of Israel than you in Congress, and...
You bet.
Would you have signed the letter signed by 30 United States senators, including Howard Metzenbaum?
Yes, but that letter simply says that there shall be a trade-off of some land for giving the localities on the West Bank autonomy. The PLO can participate when it renounces terrorism and recognizes the security of the State of Israel. I believe that they have to put down the violence on the West Bank.
Do you support the way they're doing it?
Listen, listen, I wouldn't support every part of it, but I must tell you that today 3 Palestinian Arabs killed or caused to kill 3 Israeli civilians before they themselves were shot by the Israeli Defense Forces. You know, the Soviet Union killed 137 Armenians, Soviet citizens, because they stood up and they wanted autonomy. In Sri Lanka, they're killing. They're killing all around the world. The only country that the television reporters seem to be interested in is Israel. Why? If the Israeli did what some of the left-wing columnists and some of the columnists who are not so left-wing, but who have an opinion, or editorial writers, they would have destroyed themselves a long time ago to satisfy them. I believe that you have to point the finger at the Arab states for not wanting to sit down and discuss peace with Israel. They're not there to commit suicide.
So you leave the door open then to a PLO representative at the conference.
If they renounce terrorism, and I said we shouldn't even close the PLO office in New York City, because they haven't committed terrorism in New York, they've committed it in other countries. The Soviet Union commits terrorism, Syria, other countries. If you want to bar all countries, fine, then the PLO, but I wouldn't bar them from this city because they have not committed terrorism here.
Hi, I wanted to ask you to comment on a case that's in New York now, considering John German, a man who was convicted of 87 counts of child molesting in the Queens County Court.
Oh, I know that case. That judge was ridiculous.
Thank you.
Ridiculous. And I don't want...
Sara Lee has a bagel for people who like lots of raisins, for people who like lots of poppy seeds, and for people who don't like anything at all.
Nobody doesn't like Sara Lee.
New Caffrey toothpaste decaffeinates your smile.
Coffee and tea can stain your smile, like they stain your cup.
New Caffrey gets out coffee and tea stains better than the leading toothpaste. Caffrey decaffeinates your smile every day, toothpaste or gel.
At 20/20 Eye Care, every pair of glasses comes with a lifetime care commitment. That means adjustments and minor repairs are free. But that's not all. Our Comfort collection has soft silicone features here and here, and others are designed and built to last here and here.
I've been wearing glasses for 20 years, and these are the most comfortable ones I've ever worn.
Come to 20/20 Eye Care today for the most comfortable, best-fitting glasses you've ever worn, all backed by our lifetime care commitment.
It's no longer just a glimmer on the horizon. It's here today. And it means the dawn of a new day for everyone on Earth who thirsts for something better. Announcing new Diet Pepsi with more real cola taste. A taste so delicious it's like no other taste in the world. Diet Pepsi and new caffeine-free Diet Pepsi. Both with 100% NutraSweet. The taste that's generations ahead.
I think the Alzheimer's...
Ever wonder why you don't get those self-serving newsletters from Senator Pete Wilson? Because he wants the $100 million Congress spends on them to go to Alzheimer's research. And he didn't take that pay raise Congress voted either. He gave his to fight AIDS and other diseases. Spending tax money for self-promotion, political campaigns, and pay raises may be okay for the other guy, but not Pete Wilson. He knows what's important, and he's there for California.
Elmhurst School demonstrates 1, 2, 3, Go. The fast breakfast you order by number at McDonald's. Order 1, thank you, Susie, and get an Egg McMuffin, hot hash browns, and a regular breakfast beverage. Maria demonstrates number 2. The same combo, but with our sausage biscuit with egg. While Jason's number 3 features a hot bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit. So try it. Note, when using the drive-thru, please say the number, but hurry. Each breakfast is just $1.59, but soon that price will be 1, 2, 3 gone.
Get more folks on. Yes.
I'm from New Jersey, and what do you think of Joe Clark out there? How do you think he's doing?
Well, I thought he was
Joe
terrific.
Clark is the principal in Patterson, New Jersey.
I know he is. He was
well, I know
terrific.
you know, Mayor.
He was terrific. And then at the end, I thought he got carried away with his own rhetoric. So I thought he ought to tone down. But that's hard for me to say, right?
Less than a minute, Mayor.
All right, Mayor Koch, do you really plan on running next term?
How about a 4th, 5th, and 6th term?
Yes.
How do you think the Mets are going to do this season?
How will the Mets do, Mayor?
Well, I want a Subway Series.
Yes.
I just want to say, your honesty is refreshing, and
Like
that's
the mayor.
why you do really well on national law.
She likes you, Mayor.
I'm from Minnesota, and walking down the street with my host in New York, she was offered 2 different kinds of drugs in one block. How are you
Service is
controlling
provided
that?
and promotional fees paid by the following.
How well does your car stand up to heavy traffic?
You'll be ready for do-it-yourself projects with this True Value Master Mechanic 57-piece standard and metric socket set from True Value hardware stores and home centers.
The Drake offers an exciting weekend in New York at a special price. The only Swiss hotel on Park Avenue. For reservations, call 800-DRAKE New York or 212-421-0900.
What you didn't hear the mayor say to this woman from Minnesota is that it's happening in her town, too.
Mayor, one last question. I was wondering if you're going to be Mayor Koch next Thursday.